Hello everyone, it's Ellis. Before I begin today's video, I just wanted to remind you that I am releasing a single on July 18th. It will consist of 2 songs and be out on all music streaming platforms, and the Spotify pre-save link is now available. I'll link that down in the description below, as well as in my bio. Be on the lookout for any shorts that have updates as well. As you can probably tell already, by the title of this video and the setting I'm in, this is not a normal video. I'm not going to do any singing, any playing. Today, I'm just going to show you my new violin. I bought this violin from a local music shop a couple weeks ago at the same time as I went in to get my guitar fixed up and repaired. I'll tell you about that in a different video. But purchasing a violin or renting to own one as I'm doing has been something that I've been meaning to do for quite a while. Since I was at the music shop already, I decided now that I'm here, I might as well look at the violins, and I just decided to get one. It wasn't that expensive right off the bat. I am on a rent-to-own payment plan that's going to last about 3 or so years. I don't remember off the top of my head what the exact price of the violin was in full, but I only have to pay about $55 a month. And at any time, I can turn the violin back in with no extra charge, and I don't have to pay off the rest of it. Hopefully I won't be doing that, but I can also choose at any time to pay off the rest and end those monthly payments, and that I will own the violin. This isn't my first time playing violin. This wasn't an impulse decision to buy one or anything. I played with my school orchestra in middle school, in 6th grade, 7th grade, and a little bit in 8th grade. But then something happened that made it pretty much impossible for me to continue violin at that time, which I'm very disappointed about. I think giving up the violin at that time is one of my biggest regrets in life, and now of course I'm starting over from the beginning. But what happened was I decided that I wanted to do choir in 8th grade, and my school heavily implied that I would not be able to do both choir and orchestra based on the number of classes that had to go in my schedule. And I just decided that choir was more important to me. So I continued on with that, and as you know, I'm still singing, I'm still involved in choirs, I have been ever since then, but I have not had the opportunity to be involved in any more orchestra or play violin since then. I think that, of course, because I'm starting over from the beginning now, my development is not going to be at the place it once was. I'll have to relearn a lot of things, regain comfort with how I play, but I'm really looking forward to this process. I think it's one I can go through and that I have the willpower and ability to go through, especially because I started from scratch, both on guitar and ukulele, and I think I'm doing pretty okay with those. So especially because I do have at least a little bit of background in violin, hopefully it won't be too difficult to get back on my feet with that and eventually reach a point in ability that I'm comfortable with. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and show you the violin. The shop technicians were very knowledgeable. They helped me out. They knew exactly what I needed for my violin. They gave me some options and they packaged everything together. So I bought everything at once, including the violin itself, as well as the case, bow, shoulder rest, rosin, and music. I really like this case. I would prefer if it were hard-shelled. This is just soft fabric, but I think it's still very nice. It seals well. So this up here is just an extra pocket. I can put some things in there. It's pretty flat. Then I open up this flap right here, which buttons at the bottom. And there is a clasp inside as well. Undo that. And then there's also a zipper that goes all the way around down here. I can unzip that. And I can open it up. There is a very nice piece of fabric that's the same as this velvet interior, and that flap I can just take right off, and there she is. I do refer to all my instruments as she, just like a ship, because I think it shows both respect towards the instrument and also a sort of intimacy and connection with it. My current voice teacher said to me once when I brought in my guitar to a voice lesson that she used to play an instrument, I don't remember which one it was, but she said she always thought of that instrument as an extension of her or like another limb. I do think that you have to have something of a relationship with your instrument. You have to know it well. Each instrument is different. I mean, my violin is not going to be the same as someone else's violin. It's something that if you want to keep doing in your life, if you want to keep playing an instrument, I think it's really important to build that sort of connection with it and get to know your instrument and treat it with respect and that intimacy. And like I said, everything is included in this violin kit. So you see I've got my bow right up here. There is a flap on this side. I can pull open that knob, and in here is my rosin and a strap for the case in case I want to carry it on my shoulder. I'm going to go ahead and take this rosin out. Okay, and I'll take the bow out as well. There's a knob on this side that I turn, then I just slide it right out of there. Can set that aside. The violin itself, I think, is very beautiful. They showed me a student violin to start, but I didn't quite like the finish on that one. And so I asked, is there any violin with a different finish? And they took the more professional ones off the shelf. This was the one they grabbed for me. As you can see, it's very polished, very shiny. I love this sort of red gleam that the polish gives it. It actually looks even more red in real life as opposed to on the video. She's attached in here by a little Velcro strap. So I'm going to go ahead and take that off and take her out. I was practicing a little bit earlier, so you can see a little bit of rosin residue there on the strings and on the fretboard. There's also a little cloth in there so I can wipe off that residue if I need to. Haven't taken that out yet. But that's definitely something you want to keep in mind as you continue playing the violin. The more you use it, the more rosin is going to get on the strings and the more you're going to want to keep it clean. Okay, so I have 4 pieces up here with me now. I've got the violin itself. I've got the bow. I've got my rosin. And the shoulder rest in its box. I will open that up and show you that as well. That's the first thing we're going to do actually. So you always want a shoulder rest on your violin for comfort, and it just helps it stay up a little more. The bottom of the violin is very slippery, so if all I'm doing is holding it on my shoulder there, it's likely going to fall down. And as you can see, like my neck is very long, so I just can't have my chin there on the chin rest unless I have a shoulder rest to prop it up as well. So I'm going to show you how to put that on. Take it out of the box here. Right now the feet are backwards, just so that it can fit in the box. I'm going to go ahead and turn those right around. I can see the feet are already tight, so I don't need to tighten them anymore. They do screw off if you want to do that. And there's 2 little holes for the screws. So right now they're in the farther hole because my violin is larger. If you have a smaller violin, you can use the same shoulder rest and just move it back and forth between those 2 places. I have had 2 violins already. I started with the small one because, as I said, I was pretty young. I was actually quite disappointed when I had to move up to a larger one because I really loved that first violin I had. But I grew, of course, and I needed a larger one. At that point in time, I did get to keep my same shoulder rest and just adjust it like I showed you. On the topic of my previous violins, I always like to name my instruments as well. I named my first violin Opal, and then I named the second one Opal the Second because I ran out of ideas, I guess. I have been considering naming this one Opal the Third, but I would like to play her a little more and figure out what name would be best for her. So we're going to go ahead and put the shoulder rest on now. You'll notice it has this odd curve pattern. This dip, this slightly lower dip, is what you want to align with the chin rest. That's where your shoulder itself is going to go. So we're going to put it on like this, so that dip is aligned with the chin rest. You shouldn't need to adjust the shoulder rest at all as you're putting it on. All we're going to do is slide it on. The little, I don't know if you can see it in the video, but there's just a little notch in the middle that goes on this part right here. It's just going to slide on right like this. Do one side. And then the other. There we go. And it should be nice and snug. You don't want that falling off. Okay. And feel free to adjust it as you like. I think this should be fine for me for now. As you can see now, it is propped up enough that I can hold the violin comfortably without risk of it falling down or slipping. It's even to the point where if I let go, I can hold the violin there between my chin and shoulder. Next, we're gonna go ahead and work with the bow. So the bow, when it goes into the case, you always want it to be nice and loose like this. You want the strings to be loose, and the bow itself will be curved inward like this. That is so it doesn't snap while it's in the case or traveling. Then you're just gonna use this little thing at the tip to tighten it up, turn it righty-tighty, and you're gonna wanna keep tightening it until it's about a rectangular shape. That can take quite a bit of turning sometimes. You never want to bring your bow past that level because it does greatly increase the risk of snapping. Next, I'm gonna show you the rosin. So right now I just have Sherman's violin rosin. It comes in that little box as I showed you, and this one is different than the rosins I've had in the past. In the past, I've had rosins that come sort of in a little cube, and there's a wooden grip on them, and so you can just hold that grip and slide it on your bow. This one is wrapped in a little piece of fabric. If I unwrap that, you can see that I have this little cylinder of rosin, and it is attached, it's glued there to the cloth so that I can always have something to grip it with. As you can see right now, there are some scratches. I'm gonna show you how I did that in just a moment. When you first get your rosin, it's going to be completely amber like it is around the sides here. And when it does look like that, it's going to be very difficult to actually get it on your bow because that just means the rosin hasn't been broken in yet. This white surface and these white scratch marks are what you're looking for to properly apply the rosin on your bow. What I did to break in that rosin and get those little white scratch marks is just take a regular metal kitchen fork and just scratch at it with the tines like that. It's a little tricky when I'm holding the phone with one hand, but it should make all those little marks. I just did that this morning, that's why it looks so fresh, and it will go ahead and break in your rosin for you so that you can more readily apply it to your bow. Once I did that, it was much easier to get the rosin on my bow, and the violin produced a much better sound. Especially because I have a new violin, a new bow, and new rosin, it is gonna take quite a lot of time and energy to properly break in this rosin so that it goes easily onto my bow. I've heard it can take up to 50 strokes of rosin on each section to get the bow up to standard so that it plays a nice enough sound. Once I start using the rosin quite a bit though, and more often, it will break in on its own and it will be a lot easier to apply. And at that point, you should only need like up to 10 strokes. And you do want to apply that rosin every time you start playing your violin, every time you take it out of the case. When I headed into orchestra rehearsals in middle school, it was just part of my regular class schedule during the day. The first thing everyone would do was get their instruments out from whatever cubby we had them in, and we would start rosining our bows, take everything out, set up our music, and tune individually. I just realized it might be a good idea for me to get a violin tuner. For my guitar and ukulele, it's easy enough to use online apps, but I think I would like something a little more formal for my violin. So as you can see, I am just coating this as much as I possibly can, all the way up from the tip to the end. I don't think I'm going to be able to get my bow up to standard with how much rosin it needs right now, but I will be sure to play my violin for you in future videos. I will likely be putting up violin covers in addition to my usual covers and original music. I'm also very excited to work with my violin with original music because there are a lot of songs that in my head I have sort of orchestral music or violin music playing with. It will be very nice to be able to add that on top of my guitar or ukulele. So I've rosined up my bow a little bit and we're gonna go ahead and try to play some notes. They might be crunchy, they might not make a lot of sound, but we'll see how it goes. All right, moment of truth. There we go. It's not as strong as it could be, but definitely stronger than it was before. What you're looking for when you rosin your bow is you want to get enough rosin coating the entire bow that you have an even sound all the way down the length. Again, that's not possible for me right now just because it's a brand new rosin. It'll take some time to get that rosin broken in, but it's a good sign that we can get that nice clear sound on that lowest string right now. With that, we are going to go ahead and put everything back now. So the first thing I'm going to do is, I don't need to clean off my bow or anything. That rosin will just fade on its own. That's why we need to clean it off the violin. I'm going to go ahead and loosen that bow up using that knob at the end. Get it nice and loose so that it doesn't snap in the case. All right, that should be all right. I'm just going to fold up this cloth with my rosin back in it and put it back in its box. Shoulder rest is going to slide off pretty much the same as we put it on. Just grip it by the end there, and it should come off pretty easily as well. Just so it fits back in its box, we're going to go ahead and turn the feet around. Unfortunately, I don't see a place in my case for a shoulder rest at the moment. I might just be looking wrong. We'll have to see if there's somewhere I can keep it within the case itself instead of just in this little box. So I'm just going to go ahead and slide it back in there. Close it up. Then we'll go ahead and put everything back where we found it. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that flap again. Place the violin in here. We're going to fasten that Velcro around its neck. That's all that needs to go there, so we can go ahead and put this protective sheet right back over it. The bow is going to slide back into that top slot there. And we can hook it back in with that knob. There are these 3 extra bow slots. I'm not sure if that is for bows. Maybe there are different types of bows the violinist can use, or if those slots are for something else. But right now I don't have anything to put in there, so we can just go ahead and leave those empty. Rosin is going to go back in this little compartment. We can go ahead and close it up again. Get the zipper. Get the zipper from one end. And from the other. We can go ahead and fix this clasp in place. And then tuck this button patch down there where it fixes to a little magnet. And that's the violin. So as I said, I am very excited to use my violin to create more original music. I do have a couple of contemporary music books that I bought from the shop that I can use to play. At the moment, I am just looking to play the violin for myself. I don't have any plans to join any orchestral groups at the moment. Maybe that'll change in the future once I readjust to it and learn some more. But right now, I'm really happy just to have my hands back on it, and I'm excited to play. That's all I have for you today with the violin. Remember to pre-save my new single, There Go My Teenage Years, on Spotify, using the link in the description below, on any video, or in my bio here on YouTube. All right, thanks everyone for watching. Bye. Do I pour too much on you? On top of the unmentioned projects and your time at the restaurant?